G'day, I'm Glenn, this is the lab, it's Tuesday and it's raining. Rain doesn't bother us too much. Although, the thing that's outside there, the Nissan Patrol from our previous video, that's getting wet, so that's not ideal. We'll talk about that in a second. Involves that stuff there that's carefully stashed in amongst a great big mess. This little beastie here, splitter. Everyone's like, are you going to trim the splitter and blah blah blah, and I was like, yeah, I need to trim the splitter, it doesn't look right. We've changed the shape of the front of the car and it doesn't quite look right anymore. Those boxes, or whatever we're going to call them, that came out here before, they came out to this point, which gave us less distance from there to there. I did put a bracket on there to try and act as a winglet, downplane, whatever, and support, because it's only signboard, right? Not very strong, and support that. So I've looked up the rules. We're actually well within the maximum distance from here to here for our super lap rules, so that's not a problem. It doesn't conflict with anything there. Took that trim piece off the front there, getting ready to choppy, change the shape of it and everything. Pulled the 2 bits of fake carbon fibre. It's all fake carbon fibre, right? Doink. Pulled that off the outside edges there. I was like, right, let's measure it up and chop. I stood back and looked at it and I went, but I don't want to. It actually, I don't mind the shape of it myself. Some people won't like it, but it's not their car. And going for maximum sort of downforce, we won't be using this exact profile or shape anymore, probably. This is changing. We'll get into that later. I quite like the basic roundness of the corners, the shape of it. So I think it's probably just going to stay like that. So, too bad. You have a whinge. That's all right. You can do that. I won't care. Fiddled with this side over here. There was a bit of a thing going on here that wasn't right, and it's all been dealt with. So if I've measured up this compared to other side there, that edge there was actually down here somewhere, so it didn't line up with that panel line, so that wasn't all that great. And that edge there obviously had to come forward to match up with that, so that sort of came down here and did a funny thing, and the angle of the end of that panel line just wasn't the same as the other side, and that was fine while it was all fake carbon fibre over the top of aluminium. We're getting away with it, but if we're going to use this stuff to make real carbon fibre parts, you don't want rubbish like that left in there, little flaws from the initial build that sort of carried on through and no one really noticed except for me. The alignment there at the back, stoked with that. That's heaps better. A few more things that may change. I'm actually thinking I want to drop the whole top surface of that, which is basically horizontal. Actually thinking I want to drop it down, which is going to be easy from about there rearwards. Let's just flatten out that angle a little bit and flatten out that one as well, actually, and that will take care of that. It's easy. Gets pretty tricky at the front here because this all curves down like that. If we do that with it, I can make that shape with my hand, right? So if we do that, all this doesn't line up anymore. Many things to work with, stretching and shrinking and all that sort of carry on. Doesn't look bad polished, eh? Goes with the headlights. Far too much work to do that though. Right, the Patrol. Brake fluid. Ignoring brands, that's not a thing. Not concerned about that at all. Dot 3 versus dot 4. There are some differences, and one of those differences is dot 4 is allowed to have higher viscosity than dot 3. And why that is a thing that I'm looking at and thinking, I should probably consider that as an option, is because That master cylinder was replaced with a brand new master cylinder, and it still feels like it's bypassing fluid in the seals. If you put your foot on your brake pedal and hold it there while the engine's running, it will pull the pedal down to the floor eventually. The fact that it's had a brand spanking new master cylinder and it's still doing almost exactly the same thing leads me to believe that it's got something to do with something else, potentially. Maybe brake fluid. The other thing that can cause that is the sliders on the calipers not working properly, and the pedal will feel good while the engine's not running, while you're using your foot pedal. You press on the foot, it's good, and then start the engine up and get the extra assistance from the booster, and you will bend things in the brake system and the caliper and that, and as it gets more and more vacuum, more and more pressure, it bends it more and more and more. And of course, as that's happening, your pedal's going further and further to the floor. Seen that before with a customer's car, so that's something I need to look into. And we are also thinking about brake pads. These are the pads that were in the vehicle before, and the customer seems to think that, well, he thinks that it seemed to be working better. These are cracked, right? I don't think I want to put those back in. It seemed to stop better with those in it than what it does with the pads that are in there now. So we've got to identify what the best pads are that we can get our hands on for that vehicle, and double check that we haven't got them in there already, and replace the pads, and that should see them right for passing the brake test. By the time we've done a new booster, which may or may not have had a problem, a new master cylinder, which probably did have a problem based on the fluid leaking that's taken paint off that, and change the fluid, bleed it all up properly, new pads, we've got to be right. That's going to be the best it's going to be. Beyond that, we're up to modifying things. Alright, still having dramas with this patrol, so same deal, foot on the pedal while it's running, eventually pedal goes pretty much to the floor. So it's all, that's not the one, but brand new master cylinder, brake booster, bled the hell out of it, not with that .4, and still same deal, drive down the road, stand on the brakes as hard as you like, pedal to the firewall in the rain, and it's not locking the brakes up. Something else is going on, so pull the pads out to have a look at those. Check out those shims. When you have things like that are distorting, pistons only move a very, very small amount. If you've got things that are squishy, I can feel that squishiness with my hand on the bench there. That'll push your pistons back, and then when you stand on the pedal, you've got to take up all that slack before you start going metal onto brake rotor metal onto your brake pads. So you can actually see on this side where it's the piston's been working on these areas and not so much on these areas, because the whole pad's distorting, because we're really pushing the boundaries of what these brakes can actually do. They may not even actually achieve the goal we're trying to get. So basically we're at sort of race car performance as far as brakes go. We'll take those shims off. We'll just go metal on metal. That is going to make some noises. That happens, but we might actually get some brakes working properly like that. Alright. Slightly grumpy face. Not really, but it's 5 o'clock. I've spent most of the day on the patrol doing my damnedest to get a better pedal on that thing, and you just can't. It's just the way it is. It's apparently one of those vehicles where the pedal's just quite a long pedal. It's not nice. I don't like it. Level 2 tomorrow, so we can get the owner here. He can have a sit in it. Masks and COVID protocols followed, blah, blah, blah. He can say whether that's better or worse. We can go through and absolutely hammer everything, double check. He can be there and make the call on how much time we spend on all this stuff. It is at the point, I think I showed you earlier, it's literally crushing the brake pads. They're fracturing and falling apart because you're just asking so much out of such a relatively small braking system compared to the size of the tyres and the weight of the vehicle and all that sort of carry on. So for the moment, I've said stuff yet and put it outside. Not stuff the owner, stuff the car. So it is outside. It has stopped raining, so that's one thing. And I'm going to cut some things. That thing there, that's plugged in, that's turned on. Goes down there. Goes round, goes to that grey cord there, which goes up, and that grey cord's attached to the nibblers. Looks like we're going to use the nibblers. All those EV haters, all the guys that go online and they bash on electric vehicles and they hate them and it doesn't sound good and all that sort of stuff. I guarantee you every single one of those people picks up a cordless drill and goes zing zing. Guaranteed. But anyway, hey. Noises. Gassy. Oh wait, I said I wasn't going to cut that, eh? Oh, damn it. Just a little trim. Just a whittle bit. So I took 50 mils off it. So not a big difference, subtle difference. It will look a little bit nicer. Somewhere in between where I want it, where people reckon it needs to be, and where it's easier to mount supports for it without getting carried away. I do have some more fake carbon fibre, although it's probably not leaving this particular piece of material on there. I guess for cosmetics it wouldn't hurt to spend, oh, it's up after 5 o'clock, but I can spend 10 minutes and put some carbon fibre on that and make it look nice. Put the trim back on, cut the edges off, give us a bit more just for the meantime, in case we run out of money, which could happen, and we end up running this lot here, then we won't have to do anything with that. It'll be at the point where we can just put some more splitter stays on somewhere and run it. So yeah, let's do that. Why not? Remove, delete. Oh yeah, delete. That's isn't that what Cybermen used to say? Delete. What was that? Yeah, it was Cybermen. That's right. Oh, come on. The Daleks said exterminate. It's Cybermen. Refer to the video on the rear diffuser that used to be there to understand what I'm talking about when I'm referring to Cybermen. Now some idiot put super glue on that. So this here is not going to come off very easily. Some of it will. Some of it not so much. Oh, yeah. Out with a scraper, I think. Remember I made all the trouble of doing this? We don't need that anymore. We can delete that. Or I can leave it there just purely to protect from debris coming in here and rolling around under the cowling, because remember on our bumper that is all going to be sealed off around here. We're going to put some foam on the back edge of that. That's why there's about a 10mm gap along the back edge there. That'll have, it's actually on my very messy shelf over here. Where is it? There it is. Foam rubber, we can do that. I think tomorrow I'm going to clean up my mess. It's getting out of control again. Oof. Mint! Go racing! Not quite. Well, you could, in the car park, you wouldn't be able to go very fast. Things would fall off pretty quickly. It looks alright. That's better. That will do. That's suitable for cosmetically enhancing it while we continue with the rest of the improvements. That's actually not a terrible distance out from the front bumper, in my opinion. Obviously more is more for aero, but more is more weight and more difficult to get on trailer and harder to support, so then more weight because of more supports, and it'll weigh up where you want to be. breaking it every time you load it onto the trailer, which, I mean, to be honest, I was a bit lazy with it before. I was just more or less crashing it up the ramps onto the trailer, which wasn't ideal, but it's fine. It's a $60 bit of, the signboard is, look, I'll call it 80, it might have been less than that. The trim that goes around there is, it's like 15 or 16 bucks for a 6 meter length, so you get 2 of those out of that. The rivets are nothing. The fake carbon fiber wrap is, it's cheap. It's, I don't know, $60, $80 for, I don't even know what size it is. Not quite 2, it's like 1.5 wide, I think, maybe 2 meters long, something like that. I don't know. But we're probably not using that going forward, like I've said a million times. Yeah, I blew the air gun over it to clean it, but that's not really worked all that well. Okay, it's near enough 6 o'clock. We will continue tomorrow. Cheers, bye.